I remember meeting a young lady, I think she was 19, who was in a hospital for like a month because she got Ebola. But when she woke up, she found out that her whole family had died. And it was just like her and like her cousin or something.
Oh,
And I remember sitting directly in front of her and she was smiling and she was telling me how she wants to like go to school and just learn. She has to take care of, people now and all of this stuff. And I just started crying because I was like, no, I just don't, I'm not, I'm not mentoring you. You are mentoring me.
Welcome to the Persistence U podcast with Lisbeth. That's you as in university, but we're really much more of a community here. Lisbeth Meredith is an author, speaker, and online teacher. Each week, she'll be delivering amazing stories from survivors and strivers, all threaded together with a dose of persistence. We're so glad you're listening.
for sisters and brothers, I am excited to introduce you to Angela Betancourt. We connected last June, if I might add. The current anthology was just a thought in my head with a completely different title, and we didn't have all our contributors. And so when Angela and I spoke, I was still thinking about what would later become Unmapped. And today, Unmapped in October has been launched. This episode is sponsored, and this month will be sponsored by Unmapped. Half the proceeds to this beautiful anthology will go to the YWCA, helping survivors and their families of domestic abuse, helping services to provide for survivors and their families of domestic abuse. And very honored and excited about that. It's doing so well because you have bought it. We already have 3 reviews. So for me, that's incredible. I appreciate your social media shares or your word of mouth, or you buying the anthology as possibly a holiday gift for friends and family. Thank you so much. And when Angela and I connected, I loved that she had such a passion for travel and saw it as an opportunity to grow and to transform in her own life. She does amazing things. But Angela and I, after we got off the podcast, she talked about meeting Anthony Bourdain one time, and that blew me away. I was so jealous. But she's an incredible person, fun to speak with. I think you're going to enjoy this episode so very much. I'm preparing for my youngest daughter to visit for some days, just a short visit, but man, have I missed her. So I'm getting the house ready, although it's pulled apart right now. So if you're on YouTube, I blurred the camera so you couldn't see how bad it looks behind me. But I'm baking and getting ready for her and trying to get all my grading done and, things finished with school so I can have a few days without much interruption. You will find me on the author show coming up, but I'll let you know when that happens. And next week in fact, this month of October, we'll have some special episodes. So we'll have Dr. Tali Lando coming next week. We will have some of the Unmapped contributors as well. So I'm really excited about introducing you to them. Thanks as ever for being here. This is season 5. You have now 200 episodes plus in the backlist if you're now just joining us, and I am thrilled that you're here. Thanks so much. Thank you. Also, thank you to those who've been joining my YouTube channel. I'm starting to make a greater effort to point people to this podcast at my YouTube channel, in addition to wherever you could listen to podcasts. So thanks so much. I'm excited for that growth. I'm also excited because Angela Betancourt is with us today, and I found Angela on Podmatch, which is a fabulous place for podcasters to connect up with dynamic guests. And Angela is a communication strategist, a global storyteller, and a lifelong adventurer. She believes that bold moves shape extraordinary lives. She has more than a decade of high-impact campaigns across the United States and in international markets. And her business has partnered with names like MTV, the Red Cross, Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Grammy award-winning artists. She has loved traveling, and that is the thing that just drew me to Angela. She led in Sierra Leone post-Ebola. She led a communications for the country's first renewable energy conference and business publication. So I'm excited to introduce you to Angela. She is obviously dynamic, but behind her story is another story. So I just love to see and hear and introduce you to what that is. Thanks as ever for being here, and share it with a friend, please. You'll find me on social media in my author page and show notes, also on LinkedIn and at my website, lameredith.com. Thanks so much for being here today. Angela Betancourt, you have no idea how excited I am for today's conversation. It's great to meet you.
It's so great to meet you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I am thrilled. I was so struck by your story. I'd already mentioned in your introduction, we were connected by Podmatch. I was so struck in your story about how travel had transformed you to be able to, it seems like it's unleashed something in you that makes you such a passionate person today. Can you give us a little bit of background about yourself and how that all began before you built this amazing empire?
Oh, thank you. I don't know about an empire, but thank you so much. Manifestation, right?
I like the word.
I'll have to say that I think just quickly growing up, I did not grow up with a lot of things. First generation American, my mom, came here, the whole thing, right? Let's build better life for kids, all of that. And since I was a little girl, I remember just looking at the globe, looking at maps, and just wondering, what is it like out there, right?
Right.
Like what? And immediately, and I have so many wonderful Paris stories, but Paris, of course, became the the absolute dream. It was like, oh, I have to go to Paris because of all the things that we hear about Paris, right?
Right.
And so very, very early on, I remember dreaming about Paris, and then that became Italy and just all of these beautiful things. And I would watch all these travel shows. And that was something that always, always stayed with me. Just this curiosity about, gosh, I want to go see, the Colosseum. I want to go see the Eiffel Tower. I want to go see all of these things. So I think that's always been embedded in me. But I had no idea back then. The little girl in me is very happy because I had no idea back then just how much travel I would get the chance to do, and really how many times I've been to Paris more than once. And that to me is like, what a dream come true, right? What a blessing. But yeah, my career trajectory I've been working in communications and marketing now for over 20 years. And I've done all of the industries, in-house, agencies, big brands, no, little brand names, very nonlinear career. But I always knew that I love telling stories. I love helping other people tell their stories. I love looking for opportunities to share information and help people discover new brands, new things that can make their lives better, or just give them the opportunities for exploration. And so that really has been kind of the defining moment of how I got into communications and marketing. I've been a freelance writer for just as many years because, again, I love storytelling. I love talking to people and putting pen to paper and all of that really good stuff. We don't have enough time to really talk about my career trajectory, but it's been very nonlinear, and I'm all the grateful for it because all of the disjointed, weird things that I've done actually beautifully came together for some of the most life-changing work experiences ever, like going to Sierra Leone and being there for 2 years during Ebola. Wow. I want to share a little bit because I think it's really important for people to just realize that at the time, something might not make a lot of sense, or it might feel like it doesn't fit, but then in reality, it is part of a bigger story. So here's how that came to be. I worked in all these different agencies and things like that. And in my early 20s, I decided I want to see if I can freelance and do my own thing so that I can work on the type of accounts that I really want to work on, right? When you started like at a PR agency as an account coordinator, you get all the not so fun, you get all the accounts that other people don't want, or the ones that are more difficult and all of this, and which is fine because those are all good learning opportunities. But I reached a point where I was like, now is really a good time to just start branching out, right? Because if I fail miserably, I can just go back to my mom's and like,
Right.
pick up and start over. And if it goes well, then great. And so I really had less responsibilities than I do now, obviously. And it worked out really well. And so one of the first kind of freelance things that I got, or as a contractor, was working for a company that manufactured LED lights for the recreational boating industry. So if you've ever seen those big yachts with those cool colored lights around it, they make those. And I went into that job not knowing anything about LED, but I did know that I can build up their PR program. I could learn everything I needed to learn about the industry and just build their PR program from the ground up. This is one of those stories where I didn't think it happened to me, but I got hired on the spot.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. He's like, when can you start? And I was like, okay, tomorrow, like, let's go. I knocked it out of the park. I learned everything about LED lights and electronics and the manufacturing process and testing and prototyping. And I secured this company in I'm not kidding, every single boating, yachting, trade publication out there. I have a binder this big of all the media coverage. So I felt really good. I was like, my goodness, my communications approach can work no matter what the industry is, right? Some basic stuff to learn the industry, tell the stories, ask the questions, all of that. So there was my manufacturing, LED lighting thing. I worked myself out of that job. There was no place else for me to book the company, and CEO was very happy. And through that opportunity, I got another opportunity. This company with headquarters in Singapore opened up a US office in West Palm in South Florida. They were in the agricultural industry, and they created all natural fertilizers and pesticides. I'm like, okay, I know nothing about fertilizers and pesticides or agriculture to that degree, but I do know that my approach to communications and marketing can work here. If it can work in LED, it can work here. And it did. They sent me all across South America with one of the leading agronomists. I was the only Spanish speaker on the team. So let's send Angela to South America.
Beautiful. Sure.
And it was amazing. I'm talking like the agricultural farms with like planes come by and you can drive for 10 minutes and still be in, huge, 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 where so much of our global supply comes from. I knocked it out of the park. Awesome work there. Then they shut down the US office and I was like, oh, can't go to Singapore. They don't have, so what am I supposed to do now? So this was right before Thanksgiving, 2014. And I was like, oh my gosh, to travel and be paid to travel? I think I figured it out. After so many years of doing all kinds of work, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be paid to go places, and I want to break into new markets and all of that. I'm doing a good job. And I had all my referral letters and everything. But I was just before Thanksgiving and I got laid off because they shut down the US office. And a friend of mine who's a firefighter he does a lot of contractual work in like war zones.
Oh.
And he's just really tapped into this international, consulting scene and contracting scene abroad. He started talking to me about some websites and platforms where they post a lot of great international opportunities. And so I went on one of these platforms and I found this opportunity through my friend, thank goodness, 6 weeks in Sierra Leone, right? So it's 2014, Ebola's raging. And they were this program called SOBA was looking for a communications manager to help build out their communications plan. And my friend was like, look, it's 6 weeks. Go. If you hate it, it's 6 weeks, grind your teeth and get through it and come home. And if you love it, then wonderful 6 weeks well spent. And the moment I saw that opportunity, I was like, I'm going to apply for this. This is my job. I've always wanted to go to Africa. And I knew that the first time, and this is also since I was a little girl, that the first time I would go to Africa would be to work.
Okay.
For work, not for safari, but to work, to have impact. I've always known this. I think I journaled about it somewhere as well. And guess what? Guess what they were looking for? A communications manager with manufacturing and agricultural experience.
Perfect.
They had traveled to developing countries and stuff. And I'm just like, there is no way there's more than 4 people in this planet that have this. There's just no way. I was like, there's no way. All of these little disjointed things, right? Manufacturing,
Together.
agriculture. This is literally what they were looking for. And I was like, this is my job and I'm going. And I was scared, but it was a scaredness of excitement. I was barely, from the moment that I applied, I could barely sleep at night. I just kept thinking about this position and I applied, started the application process. It was the start of the year. So it was like February. And it was one of the most grueling onboarding interview processes ever. And they're in London and I was doing Skype interviews with people in London whose faces I never saw. Never saw
Right.
their face. It was not even like a Zoom. It was just conversations over Skype. And on my birthday, on July 14th, I woke up in the morning to an email that I had been hired. And on August 19th, 2015, I was on a flight to Sierra Leone. I
Wow.
could barely contain myself. Talk about nervousness. It was such a grueling onboarding process with interviews and more calls and more of this and paperwork. And you need to have a certain amount of money in your bank account. And like, it was just wild. You need yellow fever vaccine. It was craziness.
Right.
I did it. And I was so scared. Oh my goodness. And so many times, and then when I told my mom, because I told her from when I saw the position, I was like, this is my position. Like, I don't know, I just have clarity around it. This is what I need to go do. And my mom was like, okay, well, you know, I had already gone to Guatemala on a whim and I had already gone to Europe at this point by myself. And she said, okay, like, I'm going to support you. And like
Wow.
some friends of mine, a friend of mine in DC, Stephen, he says, I'm going to connect you with another friend of mine who's Sierra Leonean. She has family there. So why don't you guys connect and she can give you a little bit of, you know someone there now. You have
I
people
love
there.
that.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Like your friends, and my friends were just like, I think some of them are probably like, oh my gosh, girl, what are you doing? But also awesome.
Right.
Good for you. It was a lot of that. And I went and I got there and I remember just stepping foot. It was an emotional moment to get off that plane in Sierra Leone. And I remember just getting a little bit teary eyed because I was like, I'm on the continent, I'm in Africa, as I dreamed to work, and I'm going to do the best I can. And 6 weeks turned into 2 years.
Wow. How did
Mhm.
that happen? And what were those years like?
Yeah. So the 6 weeks I got there and it was like, you need to create a communication strategy, like interview people, go, go, go. And I was staying in a hotel and I met the team and the team was, welcoming and you couldn't hug anyone or touch anyone because Ebola. It was weird. It was weird, but the team was so welcoming and they were from all over, American, British, all over, obviously Sierra Leonean people. And they were super welcoming. And did you ever see that movie Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yes, I did.
There's the bar that was open during the Civil War because
Okay.
Sierra Leonean history. This movie is about, took place in this region. Well, we went to that bar.
Wow.
It wasn't the exact bar in the movie, but it was
Right.
like the representation of the bar that stayed open during the Civil War, or just the war. And so we went to that bar. So, anyway, it was wild. It was 6 weeks and I finished my whole presentation and like 25-page strategic thing in the first month. Had about 2 weeks left and they said, start implementing. And then they said, do you want to extend? Because my contract would have ended October 20th. Do you want to extend? I said, yes. Okay, so go home. You have a little bit of a break, but you're coming back. We're flying you back and you can stay for I think it was like another 6 weeks. And I was like, perfect. So when I went back this time, I put all my stuff in storage. I just put all my stuff in storage back at home.
Wow.
Went me back to Sierra Leone. And here's the funny part, or the beautiful part is, it was because of Ebola, there are no direct flights to Sierra Leone. Guess where you have to fly through? Paris. So I'm flying on Air France through Paris and then Paris to Sierra Leone. And sometimes, there were some Ebola protocols we had to go through, but on those really long layovers, I was
Right.
getting on that train, and I would get off on the train and take the train to the Notre Dame station, and there's a coffee shop that was open that early in the morning, and I would watch the sunrise with my coffee and croissant.
Mm.
I mean, and then an hour later, I'd get back on the train and go catch my flight. And that was, how it was, but they just kept extending me. And it was a testament to the work that I was doing. And, and one time they said, okay, do you just want to stay? Like, we just stay till the end of the program. And that's what I did. They ended up giving me an apartment there.
Oh,
So no more hotels. I stayed in an apartment. And that was an incredible experience. I had these little breaks in between, every like 2 or 3 months, you can go back home and then come back. So I had these like nice little breaks where I'd go home and switch out my clothes or suitcase or whatever and come back.
okay.
And it was the most impactful, life-changing trip. Up until that point, seeing Europe and traveling and all these things was beautiful. It was wonderful. But Sierra Leone, to get there and I had a bit of an experience when I went to Cuba as a teenager. And I remember having these very difficult experiences in Cuba at the time that I went and I don't want to get too off topic there, but Cuba, there were no snacks or anything. And like, if you ran out of food, that's it. There's no convenience store you can go to. And I remember we were there for 21 days with my family. And I remember the first like 2 weeks, I was just the biggest brat of all time. I was like the most annoying person to be around ever. I finally had a pep talk with myself and my second cousin because I was just so miserable. But I'm hungry. Yeah, but
Right.
that's it. Like but I'm hungry though. It's not this, let me just go down the street and grab a snack or something. It was
Right.
like, there were no snacks in the house. I would go to bed hungry until the next day when we'd maybe get bread. And I remember standing in a ration line. And anyway, being in Sierra Leone reminded me of my need to adapt and quick. I need to get with the program, right?
Hmm.
You're not drinking the water, you're buying your water, I can't tell you how many times mid shower the water just cut off. Obviously, like malaria. I got malaria. Like, it was
Right.
the food poisoning, one of the worst food poisonings of my life, knocked me out for like 4 days. All of these difficult things about living in a country whose infrastructure has been, you know, destroyed by war and then never really fully built back up, and then continuous challenges with Ebola, and just country can't get a break. But the Sierra Leonean people are so warm and so strong and so resilient that it was just these lessons where it's like, get it together, girl, get it together. And I'd like to think that I did. I think that I adjusted, and you buy the toilet paper in bulk because there's no place to go with the all of these things. And I'd like to think that I adjusted well. The friends that I made are forever.
Oh,
But I did a scuba diving trip there, which I was like, who gets to scuba dive off the coast of Sierra Leone? Hardly no one. So I got to do that, which was amazing, except that it was a coral graveyard and there was plastic pollution everywhere. And our guide was going diving with knives because you might get caught in an abandoned fishing net. And I'm just like, all this stuff about we're killing our oceans. Okay.
right.
Talk about being confronted face to face with the realities of what's going on in our oceans. That was one of the first things that shifted my whole. When I got back to the States, I was like, I need to really advocate for our oceans and start figuring out how I can at least join those conversations and start promoting ocean advocacy, because this is wild. What are we doing? What are we doing? And I had a friend of mine who, shout out to Nina, she was a freelance journalist with Al Jazeera at the time, and she was covering the Ebola crisis. And as the Ebola crisis started kind of tapering off, thank goodness, she had less and less stories to write about. And it got to a point where, freelance journalists don't make as much money as I thought they did.
Right.
If she wasn't submitting stories, she wasn't getting paid. So she was struggling to find a place to live at one point, because Sierra Leone rent is not cheap. I mean, it's US pricing. And I said, I'm living in a 3-bedroom apartment that I'm not paying for. Like, there's a bedroom I don't even ever go into. Move in with me. And she did.
Oh.
And when I came back from that dive trip, I told her what I saw. And I thought, oh my goodness, like you should look into, this and stuff. And she did. And that story turned into a bigger story that turned into a bigger story that somehow turned into she was part of this Greenpeace story. Well, I don't know if she wasn't part of the Green, but she reported on Greenpeace finding 100 shark fins on a Korean ship just off the coast of Sierra Leone. Poor sharks, right? And she's part of reporting on that story. So it was just, I kind of feel like maybe I tried to tip that off or something, but it was, that was advocacy. And I was also there for the this the deadly mudslide
Oh, wow.
that killed 400 people. And I was there during that. And I remember the day when we were driving back from work and I had a driver, and suddenly the waters just came. And now the water was almost over the hood. And I'm sitting there thinking,
All right. It's been fun, you said.
I'm just like, weird and
Yeah.
scary. And I have a picture of a building that was collapsing and a Jeep. And this is what so I've seen things and that stay with me that, really just made impact, right? The deforestation going on and the impacts of that, which this mudslide, was a
Right.
result of. And again, just more about what are we doing to our environment? What are we, what's actually going on? Like, this is the real life consequences of some of these decisions. And that also, I mean, till this day, I can still close my eyes and just see the water washing up on the hood of our car. And my driver, Cherno, shout out to Cherno, amazing. I mean, he got us through that. He got us through that.
Right.
So it was just like, wow. And then one of the other stories that deeply reminds me of resiliency and overcoming challenges in life was on International Youth Day. I was working on writing a story for the website, for SOBA program and all of these things about International Youth Day. And I remember meeting a young lady, I think she was 19, who was in a hospital for like a month because she got Ebola. But when she woke up, she found out that her whole family had died. And it was just like her and like her cousin or something.
Oh,
And I remember sitting directly in front of her, and she was smiling and she was telling me how she wants to like go to school and just learn. She has to take care of, people now and all of this stuff. And I just started crying because I was like, no, I just don't, I'm not, I'm not mentoring you. You are mentoring me. You're teaching me right now. I have nothing what can I say to you? What life lesson can I possibly share with someone who survives Ebola, whose whole family just,
right.
and it's like, my goodness, the strength, the courage to face your reality and say, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to do all the things.
I love that. And I also love that you went ahead at a time when it's never thought of as being safe for a woman to travel someplace like Sierra Leone, but you went at a time when it was particularly and very clearly not the safest bet. And probably there are a lot of people who say to any of us going on even just a trip for fun as women, like, it's not safe to go somewhere. I've been watching the news and I see all the bad things and people go missing or they're kidnapped. What would you say to people who are considering not seeing their whole world because of all the negative messages that they're getting?
Yes, the negative messaging, the bad things, the bad people. Yes, they're out there. Bad things are happening. Bad things do happen. But it's a small piece of this pie. There are bad things happening in the neighborhood, probably not far from where you are. Fill in the blank of where you are. And there's bad stuff that's happened, right? Like, this is in the United States, everywhere, bad things happen, and bad things happen to good people. With that said, it's a very small fraction. We hear about, oh, the plane crashed. Oh my gosh. Millions of flights successfully are taking off every single day and landing, right? But you hear the one plane crash and it's like,
True.
and yes, it's scary, right? But so is driving.
Right.
Driving's more dangerous than flying, really. You have more at risk, right? And so, yes, I'd say like anything, don't let the small fraction stop you from exploring, from traveling, from doing the thing. With everything, proceed with a little bit of caution, right? Understand where you're going, do a little bit of research, right? Probably don't be out late at night. Like there's certain things that apply everywhere you
Right.
go, and especially when you're new to an environment, and especially if you go someplace where you don't look like most of the people there, right?
Mhm.
So whatever that means, because you're going to probably go somewhere where you don't look like the people there, and that can sometimes make you a target for your phone getting stolen, right? Or whatever. Like in Sierra Leone, my phone got stolen. It was held ransom. I got it back. But that's a whole other story for another day. I do
Your
not.
phone was held ransom, that poor phone.
My phone was at ransom, and I realized I paid the ransom because it was cheaper than getting a new phone from the United States, right? So that's a whole other story because that's hilarious. It's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yes, my phone got pickpocketed out of my purse at a bar. Like, okay, it was almost like when it happens, not if it happens. And I had never met anyone there that I worked with that did not have their phone stolen. So it was like, yeah, really interesting. And so proceed with caution, right? You don't want to go to like Sudan right now. Like, there's some places just don't go.
Right.
But for the most part, especially if you're especially Europe, please, please, please do not let anything you hear in the news stop you from going to Europe. Please go to Europe. Please go. Book the ticket, book the hotel. Please, please go to Europe. And just when you get there, just don't go out late at night. Don't go down some dark alley you don't know, right? Be mindful of make sure people know where you are. All of the basic rules apply that when you're going someplace, right? A little bit of common sense, a little bit of awareness. But aside from that, please, please go. No matter your age, no matter where you come from, even your economic situation, save a little bit, figure out the hostel, figure out, the network, find people, because there are ways you can travel where it doesn't have to break your bank. And it does take courage, but the opposite of that, the flip side of that is worse. Not going is worse
Right.
than going,
Right.
because the reward of going is there's nothing else like it. People say, oh, you're traveling to escape things. And it's like, you're traveling to find yourself. There's a knowledge about yourself that you can only learn. And I'm convinced, I will fight anyone on this. There are things about yourself that you will only learn when you've traveled. You can learn other stuff about yourself and journaling and yoga and whatever, but there's a part of you that's locked away that you can only unlock in travel. I will fight anyone on this hill because it's just the truth. There's going to be things about yourself that you're going to learn you didn't even know you didn't even know that you had to learn that. Like you just not
Right.
even aware. And traveling unlocks that. Traveling by yourself, oh my gosh. Talk about really stepping into who you are and enriching your life in a way that just isn't possible any other way. And fully, fully believe this. And so start, for a woman who's trying to find the courage to travel, to make that big trip, I say start small, right? Pick a big city and go there by yourself first, right? In
Right.
US, like, you know, pick a big city and go and spend a couple of days by yourself, just roaming around and slowly build up to it, right? Because not everyone has to go to Sierra Leone, though Sierra Leone is beautiful. And I can't wait for the day that more and more people are discovering Sierra Leone because it's the beaches. Oh my gosh, like it's beautiful and the people. And so probably not the first place to go if you've traveled abroad, but
Sure.
there's go to Paris. Please, please, please go to Paris. Go anywhere in Italy. Just close your eyes and just throw a dart and just go someplace in Italy. and go by yourself. Go by yourself. I think obviously if you have young kids, that's going to be a lot more difficult to do.
Sure.
It's going to be a lot more difficult. But to that, I say bring your kids, because there's also this may be another conversation for another day. But my son is 2 next month, and he's been on 40 flights.
Wow.
Bring your kids. Take your kids. Please take your kids. It took my son, my husband and I, we took our son to Japan. And it's like, oh my gosh, what does that mean on a 10-hour flight? My toddler slept the entire time there and the entire time back. And then my husband and I had sake and cheese and watched movies. I mean, you know,
Fun.
it was so incredible. So, I'm kind of in this place now of traveling with a child era, but travel with your child. Travel.
I went to Paris once, and this was about 10 years plus ago. It was in a hostel, and here I'm an older woman staying at a hostel, that I met a young Chinese woman who was visiting from her place in Scotland where she was going to college. And she just started crying. She was sitting next to me at the hostel in the cafeteria. And so I asked her what was happening. Her parents had died in a car accident, and she was raised by her Christian grandfather in China. And she had just come across a very traditional food that her mom used to make for her. And it was right there in Paris, and she just opened her bag and had a bite, and it just brought her mother back to her. But one of the things she said to me was so poignant. She said her grandfather said to her, travel as soon as you can afford, go see the world, and don't ever let anyone, not some news outlet, not some narrow-minded person, tell you what the world is like around you. You go for yourself and see, and you will find that people are so much better than you could have ever imagined. And there she was doing that very thing.
Oh, goosebumps. Goosebumps. Yes. And first of all, hostels, there is this thing about hostels for younger people. Yes. But also there's no age limit that I'm
Right.
aware of. Stay in the hostel. Stay there. There's so many different kinds. In Paris, there's an overabundance. There's so many different kinds, from like your dive bar equivalent to like
Right.
Saint-Cyr. And everything in between. There are ways to go about that. The food in Paris, amazing. You don't have to go to the Michelin, whatever. A
Right.
baguette, a croissant, a little coffee, a little tea, some cheese. Your life is good.
Right.
Life is so good.
It was.
And you can do things and experience so much, especially in cities like Paris. You don't even, even just going outside the Louvre itself, just the building itself is is stunning. Don't even, obviously you need, try to go inside, because the Mona Lisa was amazing, but it was smaller than I thought.
I know, she was tiny with a micro painting, whereas we're all thinking it's this wall, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, right? You have to go see it for yourself if you haven't seen it. Please go see it, and then you can join this conversation about how small the Mona Lisa is. You'll understand. I looked, there's, she's kind of been off to the side, and I just walked past the whole hallway and everything, and then I saw all these people, and I was like, oh, let me backtrack, because I'm seeing crowds of people, so it must be there. Yes, do not let what you see in the news dissuade you from going places, especially places that are just so known for the tourism and, welcoming people, right? There's other places around the world that I think, maybe go there if you know someone or things like that, just for a little bit. I spent, during my grad school program, when I came back from Sierra Leone, I knew I had too much clarity about what was next. And so I finally got my master's after so many years. And this global program took us to Singapore and Sao Paulo and all of these places. And I remember being in Sao Paulo, and I was like, oh, I'd love to try to get to Rio. And a lot of people said, Brazilians in the hotel, in the lobby, like Brazilian people were like, I don't know. I don't know if you should be going to Rio by yourself. And I was like, I really want to be the girl from Ipanema right now, but I also heeded this warning and I did not go. And so now it's like, okay, I will want to go to Rio. I just need to figure out what is a better way, do a little bit of more research. It's not some place to just go on a whim from Sao Paulo, because the Brazilian people are telling me
Right.
You kind of blend in, you kind of look Brazilian, but also, yeah, right? And I hated that. And I said,
Right.
okay, that was not a don't ever go. That was a go, but do a little bit more planning. Don't just go. Cause these days like I was in Singapore. Singapore is incredibly expensive, almost too expensive. And I remember at the end of that 10-day Singapore trip, I had like 4 extra days from my schooling that I had booked on purpose to just explore a little bit more on my own. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, 4 days in Singapore, like that's not part of this prepaid program thing. Is gonna
Right.
break my bank. And so I was like, where can I go? Oh my gosh, from Singapore to Bangkok is like it's like a 48-minute flight. And it was $70 round trip.
Oh my goodness.
And I found a hotel that was like $75 a night. And I'm like, okay. My professor's like, what are you doing the rest of the time? I was like, I'm going to Thailand. She's like, when did you decide that? I was like, just now. Where are you staying? I don't know. I'm gonna book my hotel at the airport. That's exactly what I did. Singapore, shout out to the Singapore airport. They have these big lockers. And so I put my big suitcase in this locker in the big Singapore airport,
Brilliant.
and just took my little carry-on, walked myself to booked the flight. No idea what I was doing. No, I got to Bangkok, millions of people and like millions. It felt like millions of people. It was probably like 10,000 people trying to go to immigration. And I'm like, oh, well, too late. I'm here. Went to immigration, found a tuk-tuk, got to my hotel.
Oh, how beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, by myself. And stayed in the middle of Old Town. And I got the map that has all the big temples on it. I had 4 days and all these temples you have to get. I went to every single one. This girl did not get a lot of sleep, but when in Bangkok, you got to do the thing. And
Right.
so I just went, temple, got lost in Chinatown, got dropped off in Chinatown, got completely lost, 100-degree weather. Literally, it was 100 degrees, 100% humidity. My phone died. No one speaks, not even Thai, nothing. My Thai map doesn't translate in Chinatown. They have their own map in Chinese. Yeah. I had to walk back to the main street. I had to figure out, this is because I was trying to find a Michelin star restaurant that just wasn't there. And a couple of lessons learned. One, hire a driver in Thailand because it's going to cost you like $40 a day. Like, do it. And also, no one in Chinatown was willing to help me. No one. Not even the police.
Oh
You know,
no.
how I found my way back? I started telling people where, because there's a huge main like street, like a main street with lots of traffic and shops and malls. So I just started finding little old ladies in the street corners and stuff. And I just started saying Starbucks, and people just started pointing. I walked for over 2 hours in 100-degree weather with no phone. No one, like, I got to the main street because Starbucks. See, this is
Right.
what I mean, right? Huge. It's a
Right.
huge Starbucks too. Just saying Starbucks. That's how I found my way back. And got to the main street, middle of the day. I'm dripping sweat. I can't just imagine what people looking at me were like, what is this? What is happening here? Walked into this little jewelry shop where the guy was like, gave me some water. Because I also ran out of water. Yeah. And went into this little jewelry shop where there was like a little pawn shop or something. The guy gave me some water. I stood in the air conditioning for a few minutes, regrouped, and then still couldn't get a taxi because no one would take me to Old Town. But I had money. I'm like flashing American.
Right.
Nobody, like, I don't know what that was about. I don't know if it was just because they looked at me and they're like, we don't want anything to do with this person, but we're not taking you. And so I had to walk more. And I had to walk more until I got to the outskirts. And then a tuk-tuk finally took me to the hotel. You should have seen the look of the guy's face at the front desk. Like,
What happened?
Are you okay? I'm like, yes, I'm fine. Just
Oh.
tell me something.
Oh, it doesn't always turn out smoothly, but it always makes a great story later.
Oh, the stories.
Yes.
And the stories are epic. And at the time, but here's the thing. I never once felt I was in danger, maybe of dehydration and exposure. That was like, Not of like someone's gonna like mug me or something. I never felt that danger ever while I was
Right.
there in all of this. I just never felt like I was in danger. I was just a woman walking along the streets of Bangkok, Old Town, Chinatown, trying to make her way back to our hotel. My goodness.
That is hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's
I love
hilarious. And this is what I mean. I lessons learned.
Right.
Lessons learned about when I go back to Thailand, because I will go back. I only did Bangkok. I experienced a little bit of like the downtown, more modern stuff for like a day because I had friends that were there
Right.
in like downtown. So friends everywhere. And they showed me around and that was beautiful. And I just tell this story and it's hilarious.
It is funny. And it's always better in the retelling sometimes.
Not at the time though. I'm like, how did I not bring my backup charger?
Right.
Like, why didn't I hire a driver? Like all these thoughts. But you just
did
go
it.
and you do it.
You did it. That is so much fun. Now, where can people learn more about you and your work, Angela? Because you're doing
Yes.
some amazing, life-changing things, world-changing.
So Betancourt Group really, when I finally, got back to like the work of doing things after all of this stuff that happened, all these wonderful experiences and life-changing experiences, I really wanted to do work that was very much environmentally and social impactly aligned. So Betancourt Group, we take all types of clients, but our focus is really on environmental and social impact type of things. We want to educate people on that. So that's group.import.com. So group and then my last name.com. You can go there, contact me there, read the blogs and all that stuff. I also have my personal blog. I like to call myself an occasional blogger, meaning I blog occasionally because I have a toddler and a business.
Right.
And, I'm in the Air Force Reserves and that's a whole other,
Love that.
And so I occasionally blog at angiebetancourt.com. You'll see a few travel things in there, like my visiting the what's it called? The Versailles Palace
Okay.
in France. Like I have a whole, please go there. Whoever's listening, please go there. Life-changing, amazing, beautiful, incredible. So angiebetancourt.com is a great place to just read about my motherhood, this, that, and the other things that are going on there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's Angela Betancourt 1 or something.
Okay.
That's a good place to talk about work things and ask about stuff and network about stuff. My personal Instagram is Angie B Travels.
Okay.
It's my personal Instagram. I'm on there every now and then talking about, where right now, I'm really big right now on my New England. It's all about New England right now. So over on my Instagram page, you'll see some stuff in there from Japan. So yeah, these are all the different places.
I love it. I can't thank you enough. This is so much fun. And I love the work that you're doing and the impact that you're making is big.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having these conversations and sharing your story too. And
Thank you.
keep doing this because it's so important to have these conversations and to inspire people. And you're inspiring people.
Oh, no, thank you. And so are you. I loved meeting you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's show. Thank you so much for listening. Now to find out more, head on over to lameredith.com and be sure to hop on the mailing list too. If you've enjoyed this show, please leave a rating and review or share with a friend. And if you really, really liked it, go ahead and subscribe so that you never miss another episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Persistence U with Lisbeth.